Okay, so for most of you, we're introducing you to a new tool today. For some of you, you may have seen it before and you're just coming in to get extra tips. We are going to start from the very beginning of setting and using our EndNote. So the first bit of today's session might be a bit familiar, but then we might show you some more stuff. Okay, so I'd like you all to talk to us now. So we are asking you, why do you think it would be useful to use EndNote? All right. Okay, so I'm seeing things like dissertation, managing references, managing sources, help it collate all the various papers you've read during your PhD, to organize things, it saves things automatically, referencing, being quicker, putting stuff in Word more easily. So loads of good reasons here, organizing your work, saving time, putting your references in the correct style, all of that. Oh, someone's sharing references with the supervisor. That's a great idea. We did see some really good answers there, so thanks for that. Okay, so there's a few main things that EndNote can do for you, which are really, really useful. One of them is that it will help you organize your references so you can keep track of everything that you have read or that you want to read. You can keep it all in one place and organize it. You can import stuff from a variety of different places, so that's including the library search, from different databases you've been searching on, and from Google Scholar as well. You can also just make references manually and put them in your library, and we'll be showing you that later on today. EndNote also lets you cite things more easily, which is great. You can really quickly put some citations within the text that you're writing, and at the same time as that, your reference list will build up at the bottom of the document automatically. You can change the referencing style really quickly if you need to, and you can edit citations so that they display exactly like you want them to. Okay, you can also organize your thoughts. So you can do things like putting references in groups to keep them organized, to keep track of what is related to what theme or what essay or piece of work. You can attach PDFs to your references, and once they're in there, you can annotate them, you can highlight them, and you can search through the whole text of a PDF. So that's really, really useful. Okay, now some people have been asking, oh, how can you access EndNote? Well, the good news is that if you're on campus, EndNote is available on all of the desktop PCs on campus. If you are a PhD student or a member of staff who works in their own office, you might need to download and install it from the software center. If you're in any of our clusters or anywhere else, maybe in the library, it is automatically available on those computers. If you're at home or off campus, there's two other ways that you can get EndNote. The best way probably is desktop anywhere. So that allows you to pretend that your laptop is a university computer and access all of our software and all of your files through there. There is another way which is called EndNote Basic, and that's syncing up your references with an online account which you then access in your browser on your laptop. So that's really useful. It does have a few fewer functionalities than the Desktop Anywhere version, so some people might find Desktop Anywhere works a bit better. You do need an account for EndNote Basic. You do not need an account for the normal EndNote software. You just use it with your normal login to the computer, and then it's just software that you open up and use. Okay, so let me just show you the structure of today's webinar then. So we're going to have 4 parts to the rest of today's session. We're going to show you, first of all, how to set up your library and save it to your computer. Then we're going to show you how to import stuff from different databases into EndNote. Then we're going to put those references into a Word document. And then we're going to show you some other useful features of EndNote right at the end, okay? So I'm going to hand over to Simon, who's going to do all of the demonstrations for you now.
Okay, thanks, Emily. So I'm Simon, and I'm from Skills at Library as well. Right, so starting with the very basics, how to access EndNote and save what we call an EndNote library for the first time. So we need to go to the Start button. So if you're on campus, Start button at the bottom left of the screen, and the easiest thing to do is just search for EndNote. and ignore the fact that I've got EndNote X7 there on this particular PC. That won't appear on any of your PCs. You should just see this top link there, which just says EndNote. Click on that, and you can see it's starting to launch EndNote. So let's get rid of these messages, which unfortunately do appear. So it's the first time you've ever used EndNote, you need to save what we call an EndNote library. So File at the top, and then New. So here you're prompted to save your EndNote library. It's got the extension .enl at the end. So just give it a name. Call it whatever you wish, something memorable. Just give it whatever name you wish and then save it. And where the default place to save it is in My Documents, also known as your M drive. So save it wherever you want on the M drive and save. I'm not actually going to create one now, but I'm going to actually just open mine. So rather than create a new one, I'm going to open mine. So I'm going back to File, Open Library, which is what you would do once you've saved it. So open the library, and I've actually put mine in this folder on my M drive called EndNote, but you don't have to do that. You can save it wherever you wish. And we do recommend that you only have one EndNote library as well, just to keep things nice and simple. It gets really confusing if you've got more than one. But as you can see, I've actually got two, but that's because I do a lot of training with EndNote. So I've got one called Simon, which unfortunately I can't open, and I was going to open that one, but I've left it open on my desk in the office. So I'm going to open this one, which is I've called afternoon.enl because I created it in a training session, which happened to be on an afternoon. But the thing to remember is, if you can see here, I've got the afternoon ENL, and I've got a folder at the top, which is afternoon.data. Same with the Simon.enl, I've got a Simon.data folder as well. So when you create them, as I say, save them on your M drive under My Documents, wherever. But if you do decide to move them, say you've created them, you've saved them in a folder like I have at the moment, the EndNote folder. If you decide to move them somewhere else, you've got to move both the folder and the EndNote library, the .enl file. I won't go into the technical details, but they need to be in the same location to work correctly together. If you're never going to move them, that's fine. Just keep them where they are. You don't need to really know that there's a folder and a file. But just in case you did happen to move them, that's the thing to do. Move both. So let me open this EndNote library. So my afternoon EndNote library, as I've called it, looks something like this. So these are lots of references in there, and this is what an EndNote library looks like. So how to actually get these references into the library. So these, you can get them in from various places, and this is what I've done on here. You might use a library search, maybe Google Scholar if you use that, and also maybe some of the bibliographic databases that you might use as well, subject databases. So we'll go through each of those in turn. So I'm going to go to the library search, so the library homepage, and let's say I was looking for some information sources about the effects that television advertising has on children. So I'm just going to type into the search those keywords, so television, advertising, children. With it in the library search, it's quite basic. It's like Google. I don't need to connect the words in any shape or form. It's just literally those keywords, which are the main ideas behind that search. So there we go, as I would expect. It's huge, lots of resources on the library search. I've got just over 200,000 results. So if I looked through some of these, let's say I was writing an essay on this topic, and obviously when I write an essay, I'm going to have to reference and cite all the sources that I use. So all the ones which are useful, really interesting, going to help me write this essay, I'm going to use some of these sources. So what I want to do is keep those references nice and safe, so when I come to write, I can put the citations in, I know where I've got my information from. So to keep or to store the references, and let's put them into EndNote, it's the folder icon here to the right, which I hover over that, it says save this item. So let's say number one's a book. Let me say I want to add that to my reference list. So let's save this item. As you can see, it's added it to the folder, the saved items folder at the top. So I've got one item in that folder now. Let's say I like the look of number 2 as well. Let's add number 3. So the top 3 ones, these are the ones that I'm going to add into EndNote. These are the ones that I'm going to use. So let's have a look at those. So go into the saved items folder, top right. These are the 3 that I selected. Now, I could obviously, if I wanted to, I could just print them out, keep them in a paper folder. I could email them to myself, keep an email list. But obviously we're talking about EndNote today. So there's an option here. It says export to. Drop down. One of the options is to put them into EndNote. Click on that and open, it says at the bottom. And that will put them into EndNote. So there you go. 3 references I just selected from the library search. These are the most 3 recent references. EndNote always displays the most recent 3 that you've imported into EndNote on this screen. But if I go over here to the left-hand menu where it says all references, it's added it to this list of 115. So before I added these, it would have been 112, but it's added these 3 into that big list of references as well. So fairly simple. Add them to the saved items folder in the library search, and then select EndNote from the drop-down, put them into EndNote. What about, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to Google Scholar. Okay, so Google Scholar, let me do the same search. There it is, it's prompting me. I've done this one before, as you can see. So advertising children and television. As you would expect, I've got lots of interesting references you can see here. But there's no obvious way at the moment to put them into EndNote. So under each one, we've got cited by, we've got related articles. If I look at any of these references, there's no way at the moment I can put them into EndNote. So what I need to do is to set it up so it allows me to put these references in there. So at the top left, the menu, the 3 bars, right next to where it says Google Scholar. Let's have a look at that. And then right at the bottom, the cog symbol, where it says settings. Let's have a look at that. And then at the bottom of this menu, it says Bibliography Manager. And the default is always don't show any citation import links. So let's change that. So we do want import citation links, and we don't want BibTeX. We want EndNote. Select EndNote, save. It goes back to that search which I'd done before, and now you can see there's an option to import into EndNote. So let me pick a random one from here. Let's say this one here, for instance. Import into EndNote, just the same, open, and there you go. It's a journal article reference. As I said before, I've just imported one reference. That's why it's on the this main screen. My all references has now gone up to 116, so he's added it to that main list as well. So that's fairly simple if you want to put them in from Google Scholar into EndNote. Very simple again, you just need to set it up and save it so that the option is there, because the default, it doesn't allow you to do that. The one downside when importing references into EndNote from Google Scholar is it only allows you to import one reference at a time, I'm afraid. So there's no way that I can click on several of these and put them into EndNote in one search. But that's a slight handicap, I guess. It just means that I have to go into each one and import them one by one. Okay, so the final thing I want to show you in getting references into EndNote, I want to look at the subject databases. So I'm going back to the library homepage. Now, rather than look at the library search, below that, where the heading Student Essentials, one of the options is subject databases. Now, if I click on this, what it will bring up is a list of an A to Z list of all the subjects taught at the university. Now, each subject will have a list of key databases in that subject area. And what I mean by databases is these are bibliographic databases. So they index the literature or the main research literature on a particular subject. So each bit, let me pick D. I'm going to go into dentistry because that's one page that I know quite well. So on the dentistry page, if we go down the page slightly, you can see it says key databases, and we've got several databases listed there. So the big heading is the name of the database and a way into it. And then underneath each one, you get a short description about the kinds of material and the subject coverage that you can expect on each one. So this, as I said, this is the dentistry page, but all subjects have a very similar list. They'll have specialist databases which cover, as I said, all the literature or the main important literature in a particular subject area. So Embase, for instance, here, it says search for journal articles in biomedicine and pharmacology. It covers back to 1980. Global Health, journal articles, books, less traditional publications from 125 countries. Medline, journal articles, other reference sources in medicine, dentistry, and nursing. So each one, by reading this key database page on each of the subject pages, you can then decide which one of the databases is most appropriate to me for what I'm trying to search. And then you can click through and actually begin to search them. So what I'm going to do right at the bottom of this list of dentistry is we've got this one called Web of Science. And if you've not come across Web of Science before, it's different to most other databases in that it doesn't just concentrate on one particular subject area, it's multidisciplinary. It covers all subjects, all disciplines. So for the purposes of today, because I know everybody is from lots of different places, lots of different schools and departments, Web of Science is a really good option to show because it's applicable to just about everybody. So let's have a go. Click on the heading to Web of Science. It brings up the library catalogue. And if I click on that link there, which says Web of Science, Thomson Reuters, it will take me through to the Web of Science database. And we're now into Web of Science. So again, I'm going to stick with the same search that I've done previously. So I'm looking for television. And this time, because it's a database, I need to join my keywords. So television and advertising and children. And just with the library search, I'm expecting quite a lot of references back. So it's found me, it says at the top there, 706. So getting references from a database such as Web of Science into EndNote, very simple again. Just like we did on the library search, tick the boxes next to each reference that you're interested in. Let's take the top 3 again. And then again, I could print them out or I could email them to myself using these icons, but we've got this option here. Now the default is saved to EndNote Online, but what we're showing you today isn't EndNote Online, it's EndNote Desktop. So ignore that, open up the drop-down box, and then select Save to EndNote Desktop. Now the next box, which you can see here, it says Send to EndNote. 3 records selected, they're the ones I clicked. But at this point, I've got an option here. I've got a judgment call. So the default is just to send the details of the author, the title, the source, and the abstract. But I could send more information if I wished. So I've got an option of full record and cited references. So this will have things such as subject headings and keywords used and things like that. Not necessarily what you need to create a reference and to cite. But let's leave it at the default there then. So author, title, source, and abstract, and send. And it's now starting to put my references in. There we go, back to EndNote. And they're the 3 references I selected. So it is quite easy to put references in from either the library search, Google Scholar, or the bibliographic databases such as Web of Science. The databases all look slightly different because they're usually from different suppliers, but most of them will have a very obvious function, just like Web of Science did, to let you put references into EndNote. So I'll just pause for just 1 second. If there's any questions about any of that, if anything I need to go through, but if that's okay with everybody, let's now move on about, okay, we've got these references in EndNote. How do I get them into Word when I'm writing a document? So let me put all my references back on. So I've got my 119 now. And the next thing I'm going to do is open up Word. So EndNote does work quite nicely with Word. It'll put your citations in, and it will also make your reference list or your bibliography, if you like, at the end of a document. So I'm opening up a blank Word document here, and let's say I'm writing an essay about advertising children and television, and I'm writing away. So this is an important point. Whatever I'm writing, at this point, I need to put a citation in. Well, the easiest thing to do if you do use EndNote is go at the top of the screen. You can probably see now there's an EndNote tab. And then that opens up these options, and one of them is to go back to EndNote. Now here, what I need to do is select which reference I want to put in. So let me pick this one, Vala G. It's about volcanic eruptions, not particularly about television advertising, but let's put it in anyway. And then at the top bar here, if I go across, the one which looks like two quotation marks, speech marks, it now says insert citation when I hover over that. Click on that, and it's put my citation in, and it started to generate the reference list. So at the moment, we're in Leeds Uni Harvard style. So I know that because in Word, we've got the style box, and I've got Leeds Uni Harvard open. So let me just put in another citation. So I could be typing away again. I want another citation in. Let me have more than one. So back to EndNote. What do I want to put in? Let me pick that one, and I'll randomly pick this one as well. So I'm going to put two citations in at once. Again, click on the icon which says Insert Citation, and there you can see it's then put my next citation in, which is two references. So this one by Gallagher and this one by Himilowski et al. And as you can see, it's put the reference, it's then making this reference list, and it's in the correct style and it's in the correct order. Because I'm in Harvard, it's alphabetical by author. But let's say for some reason, let's say I wasn't using Harvard, I've decided to choose another referencing style. So let's change the style box there. So rather than Leeds Uni Harvard, let's choose Leeds Uni Numeric. And now automatically, it's then instantly changed my formatting. So I've got the numeric style of citation, which is numerical, and it's put my reference list also in the numeric style. So all the formatting's done there. As long as the references are correct in EndNote, everything that needs to be in italics is there. Everything that needs to be in bold font is there. So all the referencing style, as I say, as long as the record is correct in EndNote, all the referencing style is done for you. So let me change that back to, well, let me just hover over this drop down. As you can see, we don't want Harvard, we want Leeds Uni Harvard. It's got Leeds Numeric, but also when it says select another style, that brings up a huge list of various styles. As you can see, this is a huge, huge list of lots of different referencing styles that you can select from. Many are from particular journals, which have their own referencing style, but there's a huge exhaustive list there. Let me put this list back into Leeds Harvard style. Okay, so as you can see, the beauty of EndNote is if you've got any issues, if you've got any worries about referencing, EndNote can do it for you. And I should point out that there's other referencing management software available. Maybe you've heard of things like Mendeley or Zotero, and we had BibTeX listed on Google Scholar earlier. But EndNote's the only one supported by the university, and it's the only one which has the correct Leeds Uni Harvard style and the Leeds Uni numeric styles in there. So if you're wanting to use something and wanting the referencing to be done correctly, then EndNote is the one to use, definitely. Okay, so let me show some of the other things we can do. So sometimes when I'm writing, you might not want to have the author's name in the brackets at the end, but you want to put the author's name actually in the sentence, so what you're actually writing. So I could say, for instance, this one, Blair argues whatever point Bala's made. So I could say Bala argues, and then dot, 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 whatever I was writing. So I don't actually want the author's surname anymore in the brackets. I just want the year. So it's quite easy to change in EndNote. Just highlight the citation you want to change. And then over here in the citations part of the toolbar, we've got one which says edit and manage citations. And we're on, if you look down in the second box here, it says formatting. At the moment it's on default. Again, another drop down. So at this point, we can exclude author name. Okay. And then you can see there, then it's changed my citation. So it now says Bala 2015 argues, and then whatever he argues. The other thing sometimes, let's say I've done a direct quote. I've done a quote from this particular resource, this particular author. So I want to put a page number in there. So again, highlight the citation, go back to edit and manage citations at the top. So again, same box, but this time you can see we've got 3 boxes: prefix and suffix and pages. Now, because I'm putting a page number in, what I actually want to do is the suffix box. And just as I would in a citation normally, so I've got the year, the author year it would be, comma, and let's say it's on page 34. Should be full stop, let's do it correctly. So comma, p dot 30, page 34, put it in, and then you can see that I've got Bala, now it says 2015, page 34 argues, there we go, it's changed the citation quite easily for me. So that's quite easy to do. What else do I want to do with this? Well, let's say I'm not happy with the formatting of the reference list. It's not quite how I want it. So under bibliography, just where it says instant formatting, it should say on, which is what we want. But there's a tiny little arrow there, which says, if I hover over it, it says configure bibliography. So let me open up that. You can see we've got some options here, and one of them is layout. And one, I can have an indent, so I can make the references appear indented if I wished. Or let me change the line spacing. So when it says line spacing, space after, it's on none at the moment. Let's change that to 1.5 lines. Okay. You can see that the spacing of the references has automatically changed straight away. So you can basically you can make it look just how you want it, and what you're happy with. Make it look just as you do. As I say, play with your citations, make them appear just as you want to as well. And the final thing I wanted to show you, let's just say, let me go back to EndNote, and I'm going to look at that one that I had from Bala. And let's just say Bala had a typo in here. I know there isn't one, but let's say, oh, well, I needed to change it because there's something spelt slightly wrong. So I could click on the reference itself, and let's say it should be, instead of our volcanic eruptions causing, maybe let's say there's a typo and it should be Polvanic. Let me change the V to a P just to show you how it works. So I change whatever wording I want to change in that. Save the reference. So I've changed it in EndNote. It now says volcanic eruptions rather than volcanic. Let's go back to Word. And then I don't need to change it here because I've got an option where it says update citations and bibliography under the bibliography tab there. So update citations and bibliography. And then in my reference list there, it now says volcanic. It's changed the volcanic to volcanic. So you save any changes that you need to make with your references, save them in EndNote, because that's like the master file, if you like, and then it will automatically change them in your reference list in Word for you. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there, and I'm now going to pass over to Emily.
Hello, everybody. Me and Simon have just swapped chairs so that I can come and continue the demonstration. I know that I left a question unanswered. Can you transfer your references from other software into EndNote? Yes, you can actually. We aren't going to show you that today, but it is possible to export a whole library out of Mendeley or Zotero and put it into EndNote. And it is possible to go the other way if you wanted to and take your whole EndNote library and put it into Mendeley. I am just going to show you a few other interesting features of EndNote. Okay, so one of the things that is really useful to be able to do is to organize your references into groups in your library. Okay, and we can do that really, really easily. If you can see where my mouse is, I already have some groups in this library. So I've got one called healthcare, one called special, and a couple of other different groups there as well. I'm going to show you how to make a normal kind of group first of all, and then I'll show you some of the automatic groups that EndNote can do. Okay, so to make a new group, what I have to do is I choose groups from the top menu selection, and then I do create group. Okay, so it appears on the left-hand panel and it's asking me to give it a name. So I will say November essay. Okay, let's pretend that I've got an essay due in soon and I want a group that just has the references for that essay. So I only have to work with a few references rather than all 119. So I have made the group and I've just clicked on it to show you that actually at the moment it's empty. Okay, if I go back to all references, now I can select some references that I would like to put into the group. Now I can just click on one and I can drag it to the November essay group. Or I could click on one and I could then right click to do add reference to, and then choose which group I want to add it to. So I can do that. I can also, if I hold down the control button on my computer, I can select several references at the same time. So I've just chosen quite a few there at random, and I could then click and drag all of those across into the group. And if I open the group now, we can see that actually it's just got the 8 references that I put into that group. So that is really useful. Okay, so that's just a normal group. I chose what things went into that. I could take them out again. What's really nice about groups is that your group can be as big as you want it to be. It can have as many references as you want. You can have as many groups as you want. You could have loads and loads and loads of groups, and one reference could go in to several different groups as well. So that's really useful. Now, EndNote can do some cool stuff with groups. There's things called smart groups. And a smart group is a group that EndNote makes automatically, and it puts references in if they meet certain criteria. So I'm going to show you a smart group now. Okay, so I'm going to do, it's just on the groups menu as well. I'm going to do groups and then create smart group. I can call it whatever I want. So I'm going to do global warming. So that's the name of the group. But also, I want any article that has the word global warming in the title to go into that group. So I can say, right, the title contains, and then I type in global warming here. I could add extra ones. So I'm going to do the title also, so I'll do or. The title also contains climate change. Okay, so that's my 2 criteria. Either the title has global warming or it has climate change. So if I press create, my group has appeared on the left-hand side of the screen, and it's already got 72 references in it. So that's all the references in the collection in my library that have either global warming or climate change in their title. So EndNote's done that for me. If I kept adding new references to my library, EndNote would have a look at them, and if any of them met the criteria for this group, they would get added into the group as well. So that's really very useful. And again, you can set up as many smart groups as you want, really doesn't matter, and EndNote will take care of them for you. Okay, so that's groups. There's a few other good things that I want to show you. So one of them is adding PDFs to your library. Now, there's a couple of different things that you can do here. So one of them is to ask EndNote to try and get you a PDF on its own. It can try and have a look. So the way to do that is if you've already got your references in your library, you want to see if the PDFs are available. You select the references that you want a PDF for. You can select all of the library, but I'm just doing a small selection now because otherwise it'll take too long. So once I've selected the references that I want to try and get the PDFs for, I right click, and on the menu there's a bit that says find full text. So if I click on the option there, find full text, it's just going to search, and EndNote looks in a few different places online and sees if it can bring back the PDF for me. And if it does, it just attaches the PDF to the relevant reference. So it's just working on that now, and I can see that it is attaching some of the PDFs for me. And I know that because it's putting a little paperclip symbol down the left-hand side of the references for me. So it's found quite a few. I selected a good selection of references here. It does not always find every reference, and that just might be because it's not the PDF is not available in the place where EndNote looks. It might be that we don't have a subscription and therefore EndNote can't get through to get that PDF, or maybe it's just it's not really available online, that PDF. That could be some of the reasons. But for my group, I've got quite a few of those PDFs. And now I can look over on the right-hand panel. If I make that a bit bigger, I can see now there's a tab that shows me the PDF is available. And when I've got the PDF in, I can do things like highlighting. Sorry, I clicked on a reference by accident there. So I've highlighted stuff. I am just highlighting all sorts of good things that I want to read. Maybe I could do a little comment, so I can add comments or notes directly onto PDFs, and they all get saved with that reference. So that's really good. Okay, yes, I will save that PDF. Okay, so another thing that I could do, if I've got a PDF downloaded onto my computer already, I can add it straight into my library without having to get the reference out of a database already. I'm going to do File, Import File. I'm going to choose that one from the downloads, and it's a PDF, so I have to choose PDF from the import option, and then I press import, and it's going to add that into my library. Brilliant. So we can see for this one, if you can see in the reference details, it has looked at that PDF journal article and it has found the details of everything. So we've got all the authors' names here, we've got the year, the title, the journal, volume, issue, page numbers. It can do it all. So that's really, really useful. And there is my journal article PDF as well. So that's brilliant. Okay, now I was going to show you how to manually create a reference. Sometimes you might have something that you would like to do a reference for. Maybe it's a website, maybe it is a print item that you have, like a textbook that you own yourself or something. You want to add that to your EndNote library as well. You can create that reference yourself, rather than having to try and find the details of it online and import them to the library. So you go to references on the top bar, and then you choose new reference, and then you can start filling in the details of the reference. Okay, so if it was a book, I would first of all change the reference type to book. Okay, and that just affects some of the reference details that you might want to put in. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in some fake details for a fake book that I am making up on the spot. So we're going to go for Smith, comma, John. I've put J So there's just one author name for this book. He wrote it in 2016, let's say. The title was Global Warming and Universities. Okay, it was published in Leeds by Leeds University Press, which is a fake publisher. Now, for a book, I don't need any other details. So once I've finished typing in all of the details for my book, I can do File and Save, and that will add my reference to the library. So I can close that reference down now, and I will be able to find, here he is, Smith J, Global Warming and Universities, and that's a book. Now, because it's about global warming, it has also gone into my SMART group as well, and I can see it there inside my SMART group, which is brilliant. Now, it might be that actually I have got the details a little bit wrong for this reference, and actually it's an ebook and I need to change it so that it displays properly in my Word document. So what I would do is I would go back into the details in the right hand panel, and I would change it from book to electronic book. For an electronic book, I need to give a few other details. So I need to say the date I accessed that electronic book. So that's the 12th of November 2018, or whenever I read that book. And then I need to scroll down and also add in the URL. So that would be www.leeds.ac.uk, for example. Okay, so I've changed some details. So I need to do File and Save again. And then if I inserted that one into my Word document, you can see there it's in my reference list at the bottom, and it is displaying as an online book reference there because I changed those details to be an online book. Right, I think we have shown you everything that we would like to show you today. Is there anything that people are asking, Simon, that I could quickly demonstrate? Oh, right, for newspaper articles, there is a reference type for that as well. So there's, yeah, here it's in the list of different reference types to choose from. So you would just change it to newspaper article. Some of the details, oh, I've changed it to music by accident, newspaper articles. Some of the details do then change. So I might need to say, what is the newspaper? And I would add in like the Times. I might say the issue date and stuff like that. So I just need to adjust some of the details of the reference and then save it again if it was a newspaper article. A page on a website, we have a web page reference type as well. Again, it's the in the reference type menu, so I can do web page, and it's all really the same sort of stuff. So author, year, title, I don't need any of these other things, place, publish, publisher, I can leave them blank. And there is space for the URL, and the date accessed is all in there as well. So I would just add in the details to the right fields for my reference and save it. One thing that I haven't shown you, and I will just quickly show you, is what if the author is actually a company instead of a person. So I'll stick it back on electronic book for a second. Okay, so if the author is a company, let's say it's the World Health Organization. Okay, if I save the reference now, and I'll go into the Word document, you'll see how this gets displayed. Okay, now I can see here in the citation, it says Organization 2016. And in the reference at the bottom of the document, it says Organization, WH. And it thinks that the World Health Organization is a person whose first name's a World Health and their surname is Organization. So if I want to stop it thinking that, what I need to do in the reference in EndNote, I need to put a comma after the full company or organization's name. So I've written here World Health Organization, comma, and then if I do File and Save, and then I go back into my Word document and update the citations and bibliography again, we can see now I am displaying that properly. So it says World Health Organization in the citation and World Health Organization in the reference. All right, now we're nearly at the end of today's session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop demonstrating stuff now. I'm just going to show you my top tips for EndNote, and then we're going to tell you where to get further help, and then we can answer any other questions. Okay, so these are our top tips for EndNote. We really do recommend that you just have one EndNote library. We've shown you different ways of organizing the library using groups and smart groups, and we would say that that's the easiest way to keep track of stuff, because then you know that every reference that you've ever downloaded lives in one library rather than having them distributed across a few different libraries, okay? If you use EndNote from the very beginning of a piece of work or an assignment or a research project, then again, you know that all of the references that you're gathering are stored safely from the beginning, and when you come to write about them, you shouldn't have any problems because you've kept track of all of your references. It is really important to check your references for errors. EndNote is very good, but it's not perfect. It can't fix things if there's any problems with how something's come in through a database or if you've made a typo. So it is important to edit the references within your library and make sure that they are displaying properly according to your referencing style that you're supposed to be using in your document. There is a way, we haven't shown it to you, but there is a way to keep on top of duplicates and get rid of any duplicate references. And if you do end up bringing in duplicates to your library, it is really important to tidy that up and get rid of the duplicates so that you don't have any problems with multiple references to the same thing in your reference list. So if you need to do that, there is a way which is on our website of how to do that. We would recommend that you back up your library and your Word documents. So always save your Word document in at least 2 or 3 different places, on your M drive, on a USB, maybe in the cloud as well. You can back up your library as well. You just need to make sure that you're saving the 2 files that Simon told you about, the .enl and the .data folder. Okay, if you get stuck at all, then there's loads and loads of help and support on our library EndNote support pages. So do have a look at that. We've got loads of pages to click through and read. We've got a playlist of YouTube videos as well. And we have the full EndNote manual to download as a PDF. So we're going to just move on to the last slide today. Okay, so if you do need more stuff, I've just said there is the workbook that's available online. There is also a section of the website about EndNote, which the link is on the screen, and the instructions are to go to study and research support on the library website and then to the EndNote section. And do email us if you do end up getting stuck at all with EndNote, and we'll be happy to answer your questions via email. The email address is on the screen. If you're a researcher, doing a PhD or you're a member of staff, you may find that you will get a quicker response from the research at library team because they are better equipped to deal with researchers and staff. But if you are a taught student, do just email skills@library and we will get back to you.